Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV, and hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and our show today is Talking Heads. This is a program that features world-class experts who come to our platform and share their expertise with us in 30-minute blocks. I am so privileged and excited to have a dear friend, someone I've worked very closely with, who is a stellar human being. In addition, he is an international public speaker. He's a published author. He's a book coach and an independent publisher. He has 5 academic degrees and 7 professional certifications. He's the author of 5 books on various aspects of health and wellness, and he certainly is a longevity expert. Let us welcome to the program Mr. Red O'Laughlin. Hi, Red. Welcome.
Howdy, Dr. Jacqueline. Just another wonderful day in paradise, eh?
It sure is. And to use an expression that you say all the time, things are better than excellent, right?
No, I say when you say, how are you? I say, excellent, as always. And then sometimes days are even better than that. And today is one of those days because I have a chance to share some, I think, really valuable information with people. How do we age? What can we do about it?
You certainly do. And that is a topic that people are very excited to hear about, as am I. So I'm going to turn the stage over to you. And this is your presentation, Mr. Red O'Laughlin, Talking Heads expert.
Thank you, Dr. Jacqueline. I really and truly appreciate that. I'm honored to be on your show. My background, I'm retired. I get 6 Saturdays and a Sunday every single week. Dr. Jacqueline mentioned that I had 5 academic degrees. Also had 31 plus years in the military. I was an aviator, a Navy captain. Traveled to about 61 countries, over 60 countries. Last year we were married, my wife and I, 53 years. We have 2 kids and 3 grandkids. It turned out I didn't realize it at the time, but my first love was chemistry. However, I never got a chance to practice it because I got an invitation to Vietnam. As part of my background after I retired, I was involved with self-esteem, motivation, self-improvement. I was going around the country with my mentor, speaking and selling my books and doing things like that. Then my wife came down with breast cancer. And in the process of researching what can I do to help her, I found that my original love, chemistry, is allowing me to come back into things. So I research what goes on in the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat a symptom, and you'll always be treating it. So I became more of a researcher of health and wellness during my wife's cancer thing about 6 years ago. I write almost every day on health and wellness. You can see my public, I think I have 949 as of this morning, original content articles on LinkedIn. I got about 1,400 articles on my website, almost everything dealing with health and wellness, some aspect of it. I'm an author of several books, but the one I'm going to use today is my book called Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging. How to have the body of a healthy 50, how to live to 100 years of age with the body of a healthy 50-year-old and a mind of a 25-year-old. And basically, there's a lot of things we can do. Even if we start late in life, we can still change things. But those are the things that we want to talk about today. What can you do to change your life to make it better? In addition to writing and authoring, I speak on health and wellness generally at least 2 or 3 times a month. I speak at a local Chamber of Commerce meeting. There's other things there, but almost all my topics are on some aspect of longevity, age-related disease. And in fact, in the future here on this particular Talking Heads program, we're going to get a lot more into depth on disease itself and what can we do about it. There's a lot of them, a lot of things. So today, let's talk about longevity. If somebody says, what causes you to age? Some people may just jump out and say, well, obesity, smoking, whatever. I mean, those are factors. They're not necessarily the biological cause. And that's what we're aiming for. What can we do at that cellular level to make things change? Well, There are several things out there, but the ones I think that are most important, number one is human growth hormone, and number two, your telomere length. I'll get into telomere lengths in just a moment or two. Let's talk about human growth hormone. Sometimes you see it as HGH, but when we're an infant, we have tons of this stuff. Our body's just making it like crazy. Generally speaking, as an infant, you have about 2,000 milligrams a day. As you get a little bit older, your teens, now you've cut back over half. You're down around 700, 800 milligrams a day. Now you get in your 50s and a little bit older. Now you're down 150 or less, 125. Now you start getting into your retirement years, and you're flirting that 100 or below milligrams per day. That is not necessarily a healthy thing, because when human growth hormone's in charge, it's in charge. It allows everything to grow at the proper rate. That's why as a baby, you see, the toddler, you see the young child, everything is growing. Everything, they rarely come down with anything other than, some sickness they pick up when they're visiting other kids. But in reality, they're healthy. Teenage years were healthy. Our early 20s were healthy. Everything is going right. Human growth hormone is responsible for that. But what kind of problems do we see later on in life? Well, you got bone density problems, you got immune system suppression, you got cardiovascular, you get memory loss. A lot of things are going on later in life that can be controlled if we leave human growth hormone in charge. Well, human growth hormone is made in the pituitary, and it is affected by several things. Our gender affects how much we make, exercise, stress, our hormone balance. A lot of things affect the actual production of it. And as we look at these levels that shorten our life, the things that are probably the biggest key items, and these are the things we have control over, is nutrient deficiency, hormone imbalance, excess fat, inflammation, high blood glucose levels, stress, toxins, and poor quality sleep. Now, poor quality sleep is kind of a double whammy, because in the first hour of our deep sleep is when we actually create 70-80% of the human growth hormone that we're making. So if we're not getting good quality sleep, we're not making the human growth hormone. So sleep is an issue. If that's one that we generally have the ability to control, but I'm not talking about with pills. I'm talking about getting a good, honest, good night's sleep. So we looked at nutrient balance, blood sugar levels, the quality of sleep, stress management. All of us have stress every single day. It's there no matter what. However, most of us reach out and grab a hold of it and we won't let it go. That's a problem. When it's not the stress that happens to us, it's what we do with it once it comes to us. If you can get rid of it immediately, that's fine. I'd love to use an example. You're at a traffic light, 3 or 4 cars in front of you. You know it's a short green light. The light turns green and nobody's moving, and you're in a hurry. All of a sudden, people start to move, and you're going to be stuck through another cycle. What's the easiest way to get rid of stress? Smile. You'll be amazed at just that little stress relief. The muscles going in the opposite direction affect the brain. You can't have a negative and a positive thought in your brain at the same time. So by smiling or even laughing, those are things that actually cause a reverse into the brain. And as such, you're quelling, you're pushing that negative, instead of harping on it and being pissed off. And now all of a sudden you're driving. Now you get in a bit of a hurry. Get rid of the stress. If you're around somebody who's stressful, get away from them. And if you're in line and somebody is just really slowing things down at the grocery store, smile. Those are things that are going to help you get rid of stress very easily. But other factors that are in there, let's see. Inflammation, that was the other one I was trying to think of. A lot of the foods we eat create inflammation in the body at the cellular level, and that's where a lot of disease gets started. But how can we reverse those things? How can we actually make ourselves better? I want to increase my HGH. Well, first thing we need to do is nutrient balance. Our body needs about 30, 31, 32 nutrients a day. And if we're not getting them, then we have nutrient deficiency. Now we have a lot of problems. Not necessarily today, but 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the road. So nutrient balance is one. And as you're balancing your nutrients, you need to keep your blood sugar levels at the right level. Get too high, we get problems possibly with inflammation in the brain down the road, but other issues with diabetes and things that we don't even want to talk about. Stress management. Yeah, you can smile only when you're in stressful situations. But why not smile anyway? You know, if you're walking outside, you're going to the refrigerator, you're coming back from the bathroom, smile. Just those little things help resolve. But if you have something, I use EFT, emotional freedom techniques. I love them. I do them for at least 8 minutes because I find out that's the minimum amount for me. Google EFT, emotional freedom techniques, on YouTube. And just, you know, EFT and stress, EFT and whatever your problem is, and you'll find a really good way to get rid of it. I mentioned laughter, exercise. Now, for human growth hormone and for telomeres, exercise works, but the kinds that you need are different for human growth hormone increasing or for telomere control. Generally speaking, any kind of aerobic or anaerobic activity is going to help you, but you can't just do it once a week or once a month. We're talking about minimum, absolute minimum every other day. But the best kind for human growth hormone is high intensity interval training. I do 100-yard dashes. I do each one faster than the previous one. That is my high intensity exercise. So I go out and I do 10, 12. If it's a really good day, I may do 15, but each one of my 100-yard dashes is faster than the previous one. At least that's what I try to do. But the frequency, the duration, the type of the exercise, you can go out on a long walk and have wonderful health improvements from it. When my wife and I were walking the Camino de Santiago 5, 6 years ago, we were walking about 18 miles a day, a good 8 or 10 hours daily walking. That's not something that we expect us to do, but there's no reason you can't go out and walk for a half hour. Most people can, depending on the weather and other things in their life. But the thing that I love, number one in my life, more so than anything else, to increase my own human growth hormones is fasting. Fasting has so many benefits. It's unbelievable what you can do with the fast. I personally fast 72 hours every month. Yes, 72. That's 3 days. The 72-hour fast allows your immune system to rebuild itself from scratch. You're getting rid of all the non-functioning cells in the body, the DNA that's not absolutely 100%, things that are not working right, the body gets rid of, because it's 72 hours. It's that time when it says, okay, here, I don't know how much longer I'm not going to be eating. I need to get rid of stuff that's not going to help me. So it just purges all that stuff out of the body. Now you're going to get a lot of accomplishment. You used to do a 12-hour fast. You know, from the time you go to bed at night to the time you wake up in the morning, human growth hormone can generally be 5, 10 times increased over that short period of time. So if your body's making 100 because you're 75 years of age, like I am, then, you know, maybe I'm making 500 that day. I still don't have the 2,000 I had when I was 3 months old, but it's a whole lot more than just having 100 or less on a daily basis. 18 hours a day, absolutely beneficial. 24-hour day occasionally, now you're talking about 20 times the amount of human growth hormone just for that one day of fast. Now, what do I mean by a fast? I mean water, unsweet iced tea is what I use, but nothing else. No food, no other drinks. Now, you might argue saying, well, what if I just squeeze a little bit of lime in my water? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You're talking about 1 calorie, maybe at most. You sip it over a half hour. That's not going to evoke a metabolic response in the body. No problems. So if you need to sweeten up the water just a little bit, get some electrolytes, maybe put just a dash of salt in there. I would say Himalayan salt. But those things help the body as you're going through. So you're getting a little bit more electrolytes back. You're helping with a little bit of taste, but it's not something you just jump into a 24-hour fast or even a 72-hour. You got to work your way. I find that I need at least 2 days minimum to get myself mentally prepared. I tell my wife, you know, I'm going to be starting a 72-hour fast on Saturday. So I have accountability now. Somebody knows that I am now on the hook to do it. My subconscious mind knows I'm on the hook to do it. So I have to do whatever I'm going to do. But those are the things from a human growth hormone perspective that are really, truly important. And if you want to maximize it, exercise and fasting. Now, what other things do we have in that regard? Well, telomeres are a major factor in life. Now, what is a telomere? A telomere is if you think of your shoelace, the little plastic clip that's on the end of the shoelace that keeps everything from unraveling. Well, at the end of your chromosome, the end of your DNA, there is this little caplet, for lack of a better word. It's actually a little piece of material that's holding everything together. They call it a telomere. And when the cell replicates, it becomes from one cell to 2 cells, you lose just a little bit of it. And so when you're talking about telomeres, we're actually talking about shortening the length of loss or lengthening the time in between losses. It's kind of a perverse way of thinking. But I use the example of a roll of pennies. So if I get a roll of pennies in my hand and I say, this roll of pennies is going to replicate 50 times for that particular cell. I take a penny out and put it on the table. I still got 49 left, good long cell life. Everything's under control. However, if I take out 2 or 3 at one time rather than one, I'm going to shorten the life of that cell. When all the telomeres are gone, that cell's dead. So the things that influence our cell life are our lifestyle choices, the things we do every single day, psychological stress, a little bit different than physical stress, which is more associated with exercise, but psychological stress, your PTSD, your anxiety, your depression, maybe a trauma that you hold onto from an early life. Battered women have a major problem. It's not an early life trauma, it's a midlife trauma. Physical stress, again, exercise. And on telomeres, they don't need the high intensity. Just going out for a light jog or a nice walk will help immediately on that. Diet, again, nutrition is key. Smoking, don't. Toxins, and what do we call it about toxins? I'm talking about antibiotics, I'm talking about preservatives, artificial colors and flavors, animal growth hormones that are added, genetically modified foods. I'm talking about animals that are fed genetically modified foods, corn, soy, vegetable oils. Now, vegetable oils, I think, don't get the recognition for how bad they are because a lot of them are rancid. A lot of them are, if you have too much of anything, it's a bad deal. Yes, we need omega-6s in our body, the vegetable oils provided, but we don't need the level that is provided by the amount that's in a typical diet. But also we're looking at obesity and diabetes, and some medicines affect our telomere lengths. Now, researchers would love to take it and lengthen the telomeres. That's not really practical, but they can stop the shortening of them and they can reduce the degree of shortening. And this boils down to, the choices I mentioned earlier, our lifestyle, our relationships, how much stress we have between family members, coworkers, etc. Our diet. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Our exercise, that may not be much in the wintertime, but it's something that we should be paying attention to. There's a lot of things we can do indoors, and it may not necessarily be high intensity exercise, but stretching, balance, those things are so key. Stress management, I say a minimum of 4 times a day, you ought to be doing something right after you wake up, after lunch, mid-afternoon, before you go to bed, and immediately anytime something affects you. I was at the grocery store a couple days ago, and I couldn't believe how long this woman was trying to find whatever she was trying to find. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. And so I just said, this is a good chance to practice what I preach. So I just sat there and I just came out with the biggest smile I could, just like I was the happiest person in the world. And by the time she finally got through, I forgot all about her. But what can you do realistically in your life to make things better for your older age? Well, exercise, I talk about minimum every other day. That's 4 times a week. Nutritional balance in your body. And I'm talking about all of your vitamins, your minerals, your enzymes, your amino acids, everything. Now, one of the things you can do is restrict the number of calories you have. Now, calorie restriction, most of the time they say for 1 pound of weight, you need 15 calories of food. Well, in reality, a restricted calorie is 10%, 10 calories per pound rather than 15. And when you put animals on a caloric restriction, they live 20, 30, 40% longer. Humans are probably in the same category. pH, how alkaline or how acidic your body is also another thing that should be paid attention to. Fruits and vegetables are highly alkaline. Everything else, your fats, your carbohydrates, your proteins, breathing, metabolism, everything else generates acid conditions in your body, something that you don't want. So fasting, even though you're not eating, you're benefiting from other perspectives. And the stress management. But if you can start doing 3 or 4 of these things in a regular basis, now I tell people on the diet, switch to a smaller plate, have one helping. Those are things that are easy to do today. If you can do just nothing else, but once, set your clock for once an hour and smile for 30 seconds. Lots of things can be done. You just have to be aware of what you can do and avoid those things that are not there. My first mentor says, you want to be like rich people, do what rich people do. You don't do the things that poor people do. You want to be healthy, find out what the healthy people do, and don't do the things that unhealthy people do. That's the best advice I can give you on a short 30-minute presentation. Next time we talk, we're going to talk more about how disease develops in the body and how we can control those things too.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Red. I always learn so much from you, and I've taken to heart and put into action many of the tips that you offer. Question I have for you, as a longevity expert, and I know you have an amazing attitude, and you've got an incredible background. How do you keep yourself motivated while you're fasting? I mean, does your body, I know you've been doing it for a long time, but is there a point where you start getting jittery or you start feeling fatigued or you have some kind of brain fuzziness? I mean, this is what I envision. This is a person who doesn't fast more than 10 hours. So, can you share a little bit with our audience about that?
So long as I have a couple days to think about it, I literally have no problems. Yes, I may get a hunger pang, and that is usually eliminated because I'm thirsty, I'm dehydrated. First thing you get up in the morning, you're dehydrated, you're not hungry. You have a habit of eating a breakfast or grabbing a cup of coffee. Those are habits. But as far as the body actually goes, I really have none. Now, if I go cold turkey, I say, let me just start this afternoon. Yeah, I probably have a problem by this time tomorrow after 24 hours. But I've done it so many times over the years that I don't have those problems anymore. And I think it's a matter that my body knows, when you have success in your life, the body will help you continue that success. When you have failure in your life, your subconscious mind is not going to be embarrassed by you failing again. So when I tell people, start incrementally, do 12, do 15, do 18, maybe do a 21-hour fast. We're just eating that little 3-hour window, then do maybe 24 to 30. But it's not something you have to do immediately and every single month. But it's one of those things you can work your way into very easily. And once you get that mindset and you can do it, I followed people who have done 10, 12-day fasts. Uh, it's not a difficult thing to do. If you do anything more than about 4 days, I think you ought to let your doctor know, and especially if you're on any kind of prescription meds. But I think, generally speaking, listen to your body. If you're there at 30 hours and something is just not right, stop. We're not here to hurt ourselves. We're here to take care of whatever our bodies feel. Same thing. I go out running. I maybe will run 5 miles today, but tomorrow I go out and run. I just don't feel good at 3 miles. We don't listen to our bodies sometimes. We kind of push our way through, especially when we're back in that 30s and 40s and 50s. We know, our history says, we can do this. If you're older, listen more carefully to your body. So if you start getting a hunger pang and water isn't taking care of it, maybe you do need to have just a little bit of something because you haven't pushed your body far enough to become able to recognize a fast. And that's about all. But brain fog, no. I can't ever say I've had that, other than occasional just little stomach pang that lasts maybe 2 minutes. I don't have anything. And ironically, if I'm out driving on the road and I smell Chinese food or a burger or something, if I'm fasting, it just goes right through. It does not recognize. But if I'm out there in my non-fasting mode, well, it smells good. Maybe so it's kind of like a switch. It almost turns off a lot of things that you would think. I go to a banquet or something like that, or a luncheon that has food, and I'm fasting. I don't eat. I can look at it. I can fix food at the house. I can serve it, but I don't have the need to eat it, taste it, whatever. I mean, it's not there. But that's been
You've
developed
just mentally committed to it.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So you did touch on something, a follow-up question. If you are taking medication that requires you to take it with food, then what do you do?
You try to minimize the number of calories. In other words, maybe you could take it with a small handful of spinach. It doesn't have to be a piece of toast and milk. It can be a number of different things. Find out what you can take with your medicine, and make sure that if you're taking medicine, you're telling your doctor, I want to do 20/4. Talk to your doctor first. I mean, that's super critical. He has you on that medicine for a reason. I read, if I'm on a medicine, which is very rare, I read every little thing on the back of that that sheet that comes with it. I want to know what the contraindications are. I want to know what the side effect. I want to know everything about it. So that's what your doctor is. If you can't get to your doctor, talk to your pharmacist. I mean, that they probably have more experience in that than anyone else. Funny thing is, if I pick up a prescription med, I always ask, I said, can I drink and drive with this medicine? And of course, you're not supposed to drink and drive, but you'd be amazed. I think probably 19 out of 20 people working behind the counter, they'll look up, say, oh yeah, you can. I said, you're okay. So you're telling me I can drink and drive with this medicine? Yeah. I mean, there's a disconnect. They're looking for something in there about drinking and driving and the medicine side, and it's not in there. But I have every so often somebody, no, you're not supposed to drink and drive. But it's just one of those little things I like to just, add humor to my day.
I like it. I just interviewed you on our program, The Wise Ones, and I wasn't aware that you run 100-yard dash. That's fascinating as well. So I remember when I was in school, we had something called the shuttle block exercise. You remember that, where you have to run, pick up the block, and then run back? And I always hated that. I hated it. So how do you get inspired to do 100-yard dash and maybe even further? Because that does take a lot of mental strength, I think. Plus, you have to have really good lung capacity, and then you have to be fast.
I used to do a lot of 5Ks, 10K races. I would go out just for fun, run maybe 40, 50, 60, half, hour and a half. That to me was pleasure running at my pace. I had no problem at all. And I would try to do maybe 20, 30 days in a row. That was fine. I was living in New Orleans. There was a lot of races down there. My son was a runner. I'd be running in his races. And it was a mindset. It was a community. It was camaraderie. We get finished running, go down to the bar, have a couple of beers. It was just one of those things that we did. So it just kind of stayed with me. The Navy says you have certain things you have to do. So for my running, nowadays, my knees are still pretty excellent. I don't have any knee problems, but I don't have the time to go out and run for an hour and a half. I would love to, I just don't have the time. But I can go out in my front yard and run 100 yards and be done in 12, 15 minutes. I have certain places marked off, and I start that. I hit my timer, and I get down, hit my timer again. Okay. And I walk back. As soon as I get back to the starting line, I turn around and go again. And then I go again. And so that's a short duration. And because I know high intensity increases my human growth hormone along with fasting, I know the benefit I'm getting, not just the cardiovascular exercise, but the physiological benefits of reducing the aging processes. So from that perspective, there's a lot of things that I do that I know help me, that get me through that. And so that's one that I prefer to do. I prefer to do it when it's summertime rather than wintertime, but that's just my acclamation to what I enjoy.
Are you ever crawling back in between the sprints?
Listen to my body. If I'm crawling, if I'm at number 4 and I'm at about 75% the maximum my capacity, and all of a sudden I feel a little twinge in my back, my shoulder, my knee, my ankle, I'm going to take the next one a little bit easier just to make sure it wasn't something I hurt. And if it goes away, then I'm back on normal. If it doesn't go away, I take a day off, or 2 days off. So yes, again, so in moderation, whatever we have in moderation. I don't need to push that extra 4 or 5, speed things that I had planned to do. There's no reason I can't abort the mission. I mean, that's one of the things in the military. You have a mission. Sometimes there's requirements for you to abort that mission and stop, and then pick it back up later on. So I don't mind doing that. It's a perfectly acceptable idea to me that, okay, that's what I want to do, but I can't do it today for whatever reason. So,
I think that's a great place to stop for today, because we can abort the mission, whether it's with our health and some routine that we have, or if it's in business or personal life. We have the opportunity to assess what we're doing. How does it feel? How does it try it on? How does it feel? And if not, go down a different path.
absolutely. Couldn't say it better.
Well, it's been such a pleasure to have you here. So, folks who are watching, you can meet Talking Head Red O'Laughlin. Here he is. He's an international public speaker, published author, book coach, independent publisher, 5 academic degrees, 7 professional certifications, longevity expert. To contact him, you can go to his website, red.olaughlin.com. You can email him at red.olaughlin@gmail.com. And you can purchase his best-selling books all on Amazon, including The Joy of Ageless Health.
Now that's the book we're going to be talking about next week. When we're on next week, The Joy of Ageless Health is going to be front and center. Sorry to interrupt.
All right.
I didn't mean to do that.
No, that's okay. So we are here with Red, the same time, the same channel, wherever you're watching us here in USA Global TV. Please do go to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV, and subscribe. And also go to our website, which is, by the way, usaglobaltv.com. Thank you so much, Red. Thank you, everybody, for watching. It's been a real treat having you here. And our Talking Head shows are on every day, pretty much. We have a different talking head who is here sharing his or her expertise. So you can get to know them over on our website, usaglobaltv.com. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Red.